do you want to live forever? But that being said, you probably want to live with as high quality of life, health-wise, as you can
absolutely.
in your later years, right?
For sure, yeah.
All right. So I will admit I've been a skeptic of what is being called longevity medicine, but the more that I read about it, the more I find out about it, the more I see there's data behind it, the more I'm kind of getting on board with these personalized anti-aging programs. And as I pointed out earlier, almost 25% of our population here in Connecticut is now over 60, making it the 7th oldest state in the nation. I want to bring in Dr. Stuart Diamond. He's the medical director of the Longevity Institute at NDA Medical Spa. All right, Doctor, Connecticut, as I said, just cracked the top 10 oldest states in the country. How is that shift kind of changing who's walking through your door looking for longevity care?
Well, first I want to say good morning, John, and good morning, Connecticut. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Of course. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, I think there's, misinformation or misnomer of what longevity is. It's not about just living longer for the sake of living longer. It's living longer and healthier. What I mean by that is for people who are in their 60s, pushing how well they feel back into their 70s, 80s. So as we're going to live longer, we're going to continue doing and what we enjoy, whether it's golfing, traveling, swimming, dining. So John, it's not about just pushing to live longer for the sake of that. It's living a longer, healthier life, being able to be active into our 80s and 90s, some things which I think we can do in 2026 and moving forward.
So talk me through, I come in, let's say I'm 60 years old, whatever, and I say, doctor, what data are you going to gather on me? How do you build a personalized program for me? What are the options? I know there's a test that screens for cancers, for example. Talk me through what that process looks like.
Absolutely. I want to say, like you, I'm a traditionally trained surgeon. And like you, I was very hesitant and kind of poo-pooing much of what was going on in the world of longevity and regenerative health. It wasn't until I did a deep dive, and I am an academic in my background, trained at Memorial Sloan Kettering in Cancer Center in New York City, and was an academic for the first 10 years of my career, and started realizing that everything that we're talking about is looking at treating diseases today. Right, traditional medicine is treating diseases once you have them. Everything about longevity science and regenerative health is, diagnosing diseases today well before they come upon us. So when our clients come in, we do a full assessment of obviously their medical history. We're going to do a deep dive in what their future looks like. As I said earlier, what they want to be doing in their 70s, 80s, and we put a plan together. We have a complete package that you can put together for you, or I go through an a la carte menu. So some of the things we're going to be doing is some real deep dive into just some traditional testing. For example, there's a simple blood test you can do called an ApoE blood test. You can get it at LabCorp or Quest, and it's going to put you at risk at developing Alzheimer's disease, and it's at different alleles of the ApoE. And some people don't want that test, but I say, why not get that test? Because if you know you're at higher risk, you can put a plan of action in. There's a simple test that you mentioned a second ago called Galleria. This is a DNA methylation test. Basically, what that does is as we are getting older and our body cells are breaking down, this specific test is able to look at parts of the fragments of your cells that are dying in your bloodstream, and you're able to detect over 50 potential cancers with a 93% accuracy before they're ever going to develop. John, if I told you today, I can tell, John, how old are you?
I am 51.
So there's a test, right? That's your chronological age. There are some tests out there that look at your biological and chronological age. What that means is, obviously, you always want your biological age to be less than your chronological age. There's a test called the system age testing, which let's just use you for an example. You're 51, and let's say your biological age comes back at 38. This test looks at 23 organ systems in your body and the rate of aging. You can look some of your body cells and organs are aging appropriately. Some are aging too fast. But if I could tell you today, I could look at several organs and tell you why they're aging too fast and put a plan of action in to decrease their aging capability, and that would decrease your biological age, say from, as you mentioned, maybe you're 48 down to 42. That's going to have a prediction of how you can live longer and healthier. So we put these different tests in. We do preventive screening, full body MRI. We do cardiac angiogram. Everything we're doing is to look at your biology, and then each individual's biology we can adjust and then improve, whether it's supplements, diet, exercise. There's a vast array of technologies out there that we can do. So it's not hocus pocus anymore. It's actually real-time science that is out there that is published in major journals.
Yeah, I like that. I love the data-driven approach. I mean, I guess I wonder, what if I act 23 years old? Does that have anything to? No, I'm just kidding with you, doctor. I want to ask you two more things before we let you go. A big buzzword these days is this VO2 max test. So my son, who's heading into his sophomore year of college, he's a runner and he's getting ready to do his marathon in Baltimore in October. And all I keep hearing from him is VO2 max, VO2 max. Can you just tell us briefly why that is so important?
Oura rings and the watches. Those watches will tell you what you think your VO2 max is, but that's not accurate. You have to do a VO2 max. And we partner with Duke University Medical Center, by the way. You're wearing this mask and you're walking, usually running or walking on a treadmill or a bicycle, the watt bike. And basically it's going to measure the max amount of oxygen the body can take in and transport through the cardiovascular system. So it's really measuring. Some are doing it for athletics to improve their performance, but we're using it in the world of longevity. You talk about science and data. There's an article in JAMA, which is a major journal, looking at rating your VO2 max based on your age and sex, comparing it to heart disease. And the VO2 max, if you get yourself into an elite category, reduces your all-cause mortality by over 80% compared to those other things. So it's being used, and in my world of longevity, it's the pinnacle or the top. Everything else is going to feed that, and that's going to be exercise, cardiovascular exercise. So it's measurable. You put a plan of action in, and you remeasure it. So everything I've mentioned today, you can remeasure and continue to see your improvement, because everyone is data-driven and performance-driven. So VO2 max is an incredibly important part of the longevity journey, and if you're going somewhere that doesn't offer it properly, then that's not a longevity center. That has to be the cornerstone of one of the most important things in the world of longevity and regenerative health.
So, Doctor, I have about 25 seconds for our listeners in Hartford or New Haven or Milford or Madison or Meriden or wherever they are, and they're serious, but they don't know where to start. What's the first test they should get, and what are we talking about in terms of cost?
So, I'm big on basic lab work, looking at your biology first, and the basic regenerative lab panel. I'm really huge, as I mentioned earlier, on that biological, chronological age testing, and the VO2 max test is really crucial as a baseline. Then there's lots of additive things you can do. I don't want to overwhelm everyone with so many testing. The first step is opening the door to think about regeneration. There's good testing available. Looking for a certified longevity physician who specializes in this. Most of the things that we do at NDA Medical Spa, we're right outside Philadelphia, doesn't require you to step through the door. The only one that requires that is the VO2 max. All the other testing we're discussing is via telemed. All these tests are drop shipped to your home at your convenience, and it's just picking up the phone and then doing an in-depth consultation, looking at your goals, where you want to be, how we can fit in your goals, and put you on a path to good health and longevity.
All right, Dr. Stuart Diamond, Medical Director of the Longevity Institute at NDA Medical Spa, certainly knows his stuff. Thank you for your time, Doctor. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Live well.